Hello everyone, this is Alexey Borealis. In this episode, I will deliver a lecture on so-called celestial state of the planet in the Morinus approach. I will start with a very important definition of so-called four types of determination. When discussing planets, we discuss very general principles that are difficult to express in a particular form or definite form. For instance, when we talk about the sun, we say it has elemental qualities like being hot and dry. We don't know exactly what it means, but these are just some elemental qualities. It has some principles we can attribute to the sun, like the principle of power or governing principles. Since we cannot express this in any particular form, we can say about something in general. This is the universal, or as Morinus says, the intrinsic or internal nature of the planet, its essence. However, when the sun influences different objects on Earth, it affects specific classes of earthy objects. For instance, among people, the sun represents kings or bosses in offices, and the sun shows the central or leading element, family member among other family members, it is the father. The sun represents the heart among the different bodily organs as the most central and most powerful organ, and we can continue this pattern like saying that among animals it shows lions, among birds it shows eagles, and so forth. And among metals, for instance, it shows gold, and so on. As you see, the sun starts to signify something specific regarding earthy objects. We call this type of determination, or narrowing down the action of the sun, the determination by the kinds of object, as Morinus says. This is the first type of determination, which reduces the planet's most universal and uniform intrinsic nature to something more specific. However, this kind of determination is still very universal. As the rule of kings, the sun doesn't show a particular king of a particular kingdom. As the universal ruler of the heart, it doesn't show a specific heart of an individual patient in a hospital. It is still very, very universal. Next, we come to the second type of determination, which is called determination by the celestial state, to which I devote this lecture. This kind of determination implies that when a planet occupies a specific degree of the zodiac, and it is surrounded by the particular disposition of other planets, and it has receives specific aspects, and it has the ruler in a specific sign, the planet changes its essential state or its essence for better or for worse. For instance, the sun is a benefic planet per se. Still, if it is badly located in the place of its fall and receives a bad aspect from malefic or debilitated planets, it starts to signify something bad or disruptive. This means that if the sun in general shows gold, then the debilitated sun will show the bad kind of gold, or the gold of bad quality. If it shows kings in each kingdom in general, the debilitated sun will show a sick or weak kings among all other kings. If the sun is otherwise in perfect condition, it will show a powerful king who can conquer the neighboring lands, for instance. This is how this type of determination works, but still this is a universal determination because it shows a powerful kings or some good quality gold in general. It doesn't show a specific gold on that specific pocket or a specific king in that specific kingdom. It shows something general still. And then we move to the third type of determination, which is called the terrestrial determination, from the Latin word terra, meaning land or earth. This means that relative to the local horizon or relative to the local geographical coordinates, the sun may occupy a specific house or it may rule a specific house. In that case, the sun can take on a specific role in the horoscope which is far away from its universal meaning. For instance, if the sun occupies the 12th house in one's horoscope, it is limited or determined to the 12th house matters. So if the sun shows heart among all the organs, being in the 12th house, it will show heart attacks, since the 12th house is the house of disease. Among the people around the native, the 12th house signifies his sacred enemies, not the mother, siblings, friends, or whatever, but the sacred enemies. These are the people who pretend to be the friends and who do evil things to the native hiddenly from him. This means that from that moment on, the sun is limited to this ultra-specific role and cannot show anything else. Generally, as you know, as you remember from astrology courses, the sun shows good things like recognition, powerful position, high social rank, and etc. But if it doesn't have relation to the 10th house in a specific horoscope, and it only relates to the 12th house, the sun will not show the relative high social rank, position, profession, recognition, or similar. It will only show his sacred enemies or diseases, but still with the sun's nature, because this is still the sun. It means that it will show the powerful sacred enemies, or high social status sacred enemies, or heart-related disease, and etc. Notice that we do not say that the sun shows the powerful people in general, including sacred enemies. No. It signifies sacred enemies, first of all, but of a powerful nature. So we read these types of determination from the bottom to the top. It means that the closer we come in this hierarchy from the very top of universal determination to the very specific accidental determination, the more apparent meaning we will give to the significator. Imagine knowing what's coming before it happens. Take our free test to uncover where your predictive abilities truly excel, whether in business, finance, or relationships. Click the link in the pinned comment. That was the third type of determination, which is called terrestrial state determination, or determination by the terrestrial state. It's the same. And the final determination is determination by the context. It is most crucial determination of all because it is closest to the flow of particular events. Imagine two people with identical horoscopes. They were born simultaneously. One in the center of palace, he's the prince, and another 500 meters away, and he's the farmer. From the astrological perspective, these two people will have the same horoscopes. It means they are completely identical. Particularly, they will have the same 7th house and the same Mars, who is, let's imagine, the ruler of the 7th house. It means that they have the same primary direction. They will have the same solar returns. They will have the same lunar returns, the same transits. It means that similar, if not identical, events will be produced by these horoscopes and their lives. However, these events will still be different in most cases. Suppose we see that in the prince's chart, Mars in the primary direction suggests that at 25 years of age, the prince will conquer the neighboring lands and get lots of wealth from there. This will happen in this form because it is congruent with the context of the prince's life. But the same thing should happen to the farmer in the farmer's 25 year. But he doesn't have power to conquer the neighboring lands. But still he has a neighbor who has a cow. So a similar event will happen, and the farmer in his 25 will conquer the neighbor's cow. So as you can see, the events are very similar in nature, but they are very different in the final effects, in the final form that are produced by the horoscope. Why? Because the two people have different life conditions or different contexts. That is why context is the final and most powerful thing that shapes a particular event. And that is why it is the final and most powerful determination, which is called the determination by the context. So there are 4 types of determination, just let you know. Today, in this lecture, I will explain the second type of determination called the determination by the celestial state. Because we need to understand the celestial state, I will start with the basic idea that there is a compatibility or incompatibility between the planet and the zodiac sign. When the planet occupies a sign of the compatible nature, then all the good qualities that the planet has are exaggerated, while all the bad qualities are minimized. The opposite happens, or opposite true, if the planet is in the sign of converse nature. For instance, Saturn, though malefic, still has something good in its nature. It can fix, it can protect, conserve, it can resist. These intrinsically not bad qualities. So, if Saturn is located in Capricorn and Aquarius, these good qualities are exaggerated, while Saturn bad qualities or attributes are diminished. And so universally malefic planet Saturn being in Aquarius and occupying the second house will become accidental benefic planet. It will not destroy or hinder wealth. It will produce it, but still in a Saturnian kind of way, through challenging economy, for instance. The opposite is true if Saturn is in Leo, in the sign of the solar nature, which is incompatible with Saturn. The evil things of Saturn will be exaggerated in that sign, while the good qualities will be minimized or even vanished. And since Saturn per se is a more disruptive planet, it has more disruptive qualities than other planets, since it is natural malefic, it's natural ruler of diseases, death, disruption, and other similar things. The debilitated Saturn in Leo is much worse than the debilitated Sun in Aquarius. So the planet may possess different levels of accidental goodness or badness, such as being its triplicity, domicile, exaltation, etc. As you can see, the zodiac sign contributes to the celestial state of the planet. However, the zodiac signs are not the only things that contribute to the celestial state of the planet, because the ruler of that sign where the planet locates plays a significant role. And we call this ruler of the sign a dispositor of the planet. So I stated before that the planet is similar to a specific zodiac sign. More precisely, a planet shares an identical nature with some zodiac signs. For instance, Leo has the same nature as the Sun. And the nature of the sign and the nature of the planet are the same, not just similar. And that's important. And that's a fundamental concept in Morinus' work because it immediately follows from the statement that anything which happens to the dispositor of the sign reflects on the sign itself. And everything which happens to each degree of the sign reflects on the ruler of that sign. And this is very easy to track. For instance, let's imagine that the cusp of the ninth house falls into the sign of Gemini. According to the definition of astrological house, the house has the only power, the power of determination. It means that the house determines or limits everything which it contains to manifest in a specific area of life. So if there is a moon in the ninth house, the moon is determined to show journeys among all other wanderings it naturally signifies. If Jupiter in the ninth house, it will be limited to signify noble foreigners, or universities, or the priests, among all other things it naturally rules. So now imagine that the empty sign of Gemini occupies the ninth house, and the cusp of the ninth house is in that empty sign. It means that most of the degrees of the zodiac sign Gemini are determined to manifest in the ninth house matters, and it immediately reflects on Mercury, the ruler of that sign. It means that from that moment, Mercury, as the ruler of the sign Gemini, also determined to show science-related objects or on the intersection of its natural meaning and the ninth house matters. So you see the correspondence. When something happens to the sign, it immediately reflects to the ruler of sign and vice versa. Imagine the planet Venus in Pisces. Venus is a beneficial planet. It is exalted in Pisces. It is in a perfect zodiac essential state. But if Jupiter, the ruler of Pisces, is detriment, it debilitates each degree of Pisces. It means that the planet Venus in Pisces with Jupiter in Gemini is much less effective and much less noble than Venus in Pisces with Jupiter in Sagittarius, for instance. That's the significant consequence of Morinus' approach. So the state of the dispositor contributes to the celestial state of the planet. But not only does the position of the dispositor in sign contributes to the celestial state of the planet, but the terrestrial state of the dispositor also plays a significant role. Imagine the same picture. The same Venus in the Pisces, and Jupiter is now peregrine. From the celestial state perspective, Jupiter is no good, no bad, it's neutral. This means that Jupiter doesn't shift the condition of exalted Venus for better or for worse. It just makes it generally exalted and good. That's it. However, once we consider the terrestrial determination of Jupiter, we may notice that it rules both the 12th house of illnesses and the 8th house of death. From that moment, Jupiter starts signifying bad things in the horoscope, because nothing good comes from illnesses, nothing is good in the death or mortal threats. And because Jupiter signifies that, it immediately reflects on each degree of Pisces. So each degree of Pisces now experiences the breath of death, illnesses, or whatever Jupiter signifies by its terrestrial state. And the same immediately reflects on the state of the exalted Venus, which occupies that sign. This means that Venus in Pisces with Jupiter peregrine in the 12th house is worse than the same Venus in Pisces with Jupiter peregrine in the second house. So that's very important as well. So you see that the terrestrial state of the dispositor also contributes to the celestial state of the planet. And the third thing that contributes to the celestial state of the planet is the close aspect that the planet receives. So now I need to introduce the aspects in Morinus way. Let's think of aspect not as the ray that planets casts on a specific degree, but rather than as a small copy of the planet that is positioned in that degree, and the degree of aspect. So if, for instance, Saturn is in the 27th degree of Capricorn, then it has a quadrature in 27th degree of Aries, and we can think of this as a small copy of Saturn located in that particular degree. So now we need to understand the action of favorable and unfavorable aspects, because they place slightly different copies of the original Saturn in the degrees of aspects. So how does it work? Each planet normally has something good and something bad at the same time. For instance, a planet may be in fall and in triplicity at the same time, or it may be a universal benefic and rule an unfavorable house simultaneously. So the favorable aspects take the planet's good qualities and put them without any modification in the degree of aspect. At the same time, the favorable aspects reduce all the bad qualities to minimum. The unfavorable aspects act otherwise. They take all the bad qualities of the planet and reduce all the good qualities that planet possesses, and then places a modified copy of that planet in the degree of aspect. Then, once we understand what kind of copy we have in the place of aspect, then we assess this modified copy in the particular degree, in the degree of aspect, exactly as we did it for original planet. We look at the sign where the aspect falls and the compatibility or incompatibility of the planetary copy with that sign and the dispositor of that planetary copy. Let me give you an illustrative example. Suppose Saturn in the 27th degree of Sagittarius. Suppose it has no specific dignities or debilities and this sign, it is peregrine. Nevertheless, Saturn has some bad intrinsic qualities due to its universal malefic nature. And now let's imagine that Saturn also rules the 12th house. Because this is unfavorable 12th house that has much in common with Saturn's nature of the diseases, Saturn becomes a moderate accidental malefic planet because of this terrestrial state. And when I say moderate malefic, I mean it could be worse were it detriment or in fall, or if it received a terrible aspects from other malefic planets. Now imagine that Saturn in 27 degrees of Sagittarius casts a beneficial trine to the 27 degrees of Leo. Since trine is favorable aspect, it takes all the good qualities Saturn has and positions all these qualities in 27 degree of Leo. But Saturn intrinsically is bad, and accidentally it hasn't gained any good qualities. So neither by celestial nor by terrestrial state. This means that the favorable aspect, the favorable trine, doesn't bring any good in the point of aspect. And on the other hand, this aspect reduces all the bad qualities that Saturn has. Eventually, it produces an, I would say, neutral, neither good nor bad copy, or useless copy of Saturn, and puts this copy in 27 degrees of Leo. But look, Leo is the sign of solar nature, which is incompatible with Saturn. This means that the copy of the aspect in place of the Saturn's trine is even worse than the original Saturn, because it is in the place of its detriment. So if the original Saturn was determined by the 12th house to show serious illness, then the Saturn's trine, trigon, will produce this illness even more easily than the Saturn itself. So this favorable aspect becomes the parameter or premisser of the serious illness. It means that it contains the promise of illness. Once it comes in the primary direction to the significator of the body, this point, 27 degree of Leo, more likely to create serious illness. So what will happen if another planet, let's say Mercury, is very close to that this disruptive parameter? In that case, Mercury will experience all the evil that the 27 degrees of Leo contains. And the closer the Mercury to that point, to that degree, the stronger the affliction. So the Mercury in 0 degree of Leo, where it receives no evil aspect, is a neutral planet, no good, no bad. It is slightly beneficial, since Mercury is intrinsically a beneficial planet, and it is especially true if Mercury isn't determined to do bad things by evil houses. But if the same neutral or slightly beneficial Mercury is very close to the 25 degree of Leo, let's say 24 degrees of Leo, which is very close to the parameter of illness, such a Mercury will be a companion in causing illnesses. So if Mercury, for instance, rules the 9th house of science, so the sudden diseases will spoil scientific activity. In other words, Mercury, the scientific activity, is afflicted by the incoming aspect. So as you see from that example, the aspect, or rather aspects, can shift the planetary celestial state and manifestation for better or for worse. In assessing the celestial state, you need to consider several factors, like the force of the aspect, since the opposition is stronger than the square, and the square is stronger than sextile, the distance in the aspect, the force of terrestrial determination, and etc. This is where you spend most of the time, but once you accurately assess the correct celestial state of the planet, you can eventually predict what this planet does relative to a favorable or unfavorable house, whether it, for instance, creates, stops, or mitigates the diseases, whether it creates or destroys wealth, and in what particular manner. So this is a general idea of the celestial state. Below this video, I will include a link to my blog post when you can read more about it. So this is it for this lecture. Thank you for your attention, and see you in the next episode.